think I have all the light in
like
Washington right now.
You have great lighting.
This is all we got. This is it. Oh, I forgot.
Welcome to our friends and followers watching live on Facebook via Zoom. We are Bishop Brothers, and this is your safe place where we discuss current events from a biblical perspective based on our life experiences. He is John, I am Aaron. He's a chief, I'm a chief. He is blood washed, I am blood washed. He is a bishop, I am a bishop. But most importantly, we are brothers. Engage in the conversation. Invite a friend to like our page. Welcome aboard. This is Bishop Brothers, streaming live.
We're back.
We're live. And we're here with Shy. You're joining Bishop Brothers live on a Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we thank God so much that you're looking at my ugly mug, John's ugly mug, but in the nice inner corner, you're looking at the wonderful, beautiful, Shy Clebourn. Give her a hand, John. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah,
finally bringing some class into this.
That's right. Yeah. So you bringing the light, and now it's being the class. We thank you for joining us on this very important topic we're going to discuss tonight. And I just want to open, as I told her privately, and tell the public that I thank God for Miss Clebourn, Shy Clebourn, because she really blessed me with a prayer. My mom passed away and she didn't even know me, but she blessed me with a powerful prayer, and it really inspired me to get through that eulogy. So I just want to thank you publicly for that. And you're a blessing to the kingdom of God, blessing me personally. And we thank you because we know that you rushed home. Tuesday's a busy day. You rush home for your son's winning football game to be with us. And we thank you for your precious time. And I'm just gonna let you open up, and we're gonna talk about a lot of the stuff, centered around unbelievable. But I just want you to just tell the audience who you are, about yourself, and what you do. And I know you got an exciting thing coming on with your new show Thursday. So yeah, just tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, I want to say, thank God for being here today and for just waking us up and getting us on our journey today. I want to thank him for this platform, for Bishop John Key, and you also, Bishop, for even reaching out to me to be on your platform to talk about such a tough topic, but definitely a needed topic. I know you said this is a grown-up conversation.
Yes.
So we're going to have a grown-up conversation because it's time for us as a body of Christ to actually be grown up about some things and to be transparent about some things. So my name is Shawanda Clebourn. I also go by Shy, that's C-H-I. I'm a mother of 3. I'm a wife. I am a radio and TV personality, producer, director, actress, all those things that you think about entertainment right here in Houston, Texas, I do. And I'm a minister of the gospel. I love to teach and preach the word of God, to encourage people to reach their maximum potential in life through Christ. And I just really like to get, I really come on the premise of forgiveness. forgiveness is something we have to stand on. God tells us to forgive. He's very serious about us forgiving. And so I like to teach people to forgive and to forgive quickly in order to move on to really what all that God has for them. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Amen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you. You know, the truth of the matter is a lot of times as pastors, we kind of have our little corner in the world. And a lot of us, you know, me, fortunately, I have background in, you know, marriage and family therapy and psychology, but even with all that education, there's some realistic things that I'm never going to see or I'm never going to understand for a lot of reasons. The way I look, the gender that I am. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to see and I'm not ever going to be able to experientially understand. So although pastors may have a ton of knowledge and I've been to a lot of school, I get bored real easy. So I go to school a lot. But I will tell you this, in all that time, one of the things that we're doing up here in the Northwest, especially with one of the institutions that I'm working with up here, is we are trying to add more trauma, more psychological counseling classes into the divinity programs, because we have a pastor that, you know, like I graduated from Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary with my master's in divinity. And fortunately for me, I already had a graduate degree in psychology, because when I left, if I'd have just had the degree from Liberty, I took one class in counseling, one. So that was maybe 5 hours of training. And then I come to a church where I pastor over 100 people. And guess what walks through my door all the time? A bunch of stuff that I've never experienced and I'm never going to understand personally. And I'm not prepared for it. So, and then, you know, when we hear stories and we hear, and we see things like the Netflix documentary, Unbelievable, where it's in your face. And to be honest, had that show never have happened, or, you know, this has never happened to me. So I don't have any experience when it comes to this. So, you know, having people with experience, having experienced it, with the courage to share about it and to talk about it and to get it out there for other pastors is such a vital resource that we in academia have failed to provide the pastor. And then on top of that, the pastor just simply doesn't understand. And so now as a church, we're failing our communities, I would say, because we simply don't know what to do. So that's why I think tonight is so important. And now I'm going to get my pen and paper because I'm here to learn. So I'm gonna grab my pen and paper, and I would just love to hear your story.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's interesting. Well, I don't know how y'all want to open up. So Bishop, I'm gonna let you kind of bring me in, because I could probably talk on a couple of different angles, and so
I want to bring in like when I was watching Unbelievable, and you know I've seen the process, and I'm a police officer, I'm a former military police officer. So I've dealt with people who has, you know, been arrested for sexual assault and rape, things like that. I've dealt with the suspect, but what was so heartening to me was two aspects: the police and the family, in how the victim in this situation drew as much or more suspicion than the actual perpetrator of the crime. And I'm thinking, as a pastor now, is me sitting in the position of a bishop as a pastor, I have to evaluate myself and say, you know what, if I'm this person, would I be so inhuman and so disconnected from the situation that would I do the same? God, I don't think I would, but you know, you got to examine yourself, the Bible teaches us. And would I, you know, to pretty much shame the victim, just say it didn't happen, just because they actually, in my opinion, made her the criminal in this situation. And how can we avoid the tragedy of that? The tragedy of not what she went through, but then also when you go to get help, when you go to the police, or when you go to family members, when you go to the church, you get shamed even more. That's what that.
Yeah.
Victim shaming is a thing. When the Me Too movement came out, that's the first thing people would ask is, why did it take so long for them to come out? Or, they question if these things really did happen. But it's because of the shame. Shame is something that it depletes your energy. It just takes away, because you don't want people to look at you differently. You know what I mean? And you don't want people to, and many times our closest people to us can cause more damage than anything, as we saw in Unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm.
The foster parent, the foster mother, the one who she was supposed to be able to trust, even though mind you, she's coming from a broken place anyway, she's in foster homes, right? And now these people who she's supposed to love and trust, now they are victim shaming her, right? And so sometimes the people closest to us cause more damage to us, and I can actually talk about this at a little deeper level. So some people who know my story know that I was molested for 16 years by my ex-stepfather, right? I am very vocal about it now. Being the age that I am now, I decided I'm not going to be quiet about it anymore, because it shaped who I had become as a woman on so many different levels. And I remember going to our pastors, talking as a young girl, young teenager, going to our pastors to talk to them about this. And mind you, he's a deacon in the church, and he has some clout in the church. And we went into the room, into their pastoral room or office or whatever. And it was pretty much like, what goes on here stays in here, just like it would be in the family. So the pastors, bishops higher up, they have a way of protecting their own. So no, they're not going to, report their clergy to the authorities, right? They think that they can counsel inside, right, to keep the secret inside. And it was very hurtful for me to know that there was not safety there, right? They definitely went to his rescue much more than they went to mine. And I remember leaving that room feeling very unsupported, if not even more shameful, because I came out thinking that this was a safe place. And it absolutely wasn't, because sometimes churches cover up sin within.
That's right.
Wow.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm thinking that we can keep it all hush hush, we're God. You know what I mean? Are we supposed to confess our sins? You know what I mean? We're supposed to be transparent to the Lord, but we don't do that. We want to protect our men and women of God, opposed to people that really need them.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and I think as the capital C church, like I like to call it, I'm talking about all Christians, Catholics, Pentecostals, Alliance members, EC Global, whoever you are, we have to own the fact that in many ways it has come from the church. Like, we have damaged the communities.
Yes.
We have to own that. It's not, it's similar to when, like me and Bishop Williams, we talk about white supremacy, right? I don't feel offended when we talk about white supremacy because I'm white. I own that white supremacy is what it is. I'm not a white supremacist. I know that. Bishop Williams knows that. People that know me know that. So it doesn't. I own the fact that that's a reality.
Yes.
Right. And I work to fix it. And I think if we would just do that in the church, if we would just own the fact that in a lot of ways, especially in this way, specifically in this way, we've damaged communities. And if we would just own that and work to fix it, I think we would get farther as a church. Now, I had a question for you that kind of came into my mind as you were speaking. The first part is, so when in the process, so how far did it go before you started talking to the pastor or to the church? And when they stepped in, what would you say that, I mean, it's pretty clear from your story that the church failed to support you. That's very clear. But was it in that moment in the office when you realized that this church is not here for me, or did you know that before or after, or could you kind of walk us through that?
I'm pretty sure I knew it way before that, right?
Okay.
So there was two different ways, right? So I had an experience where the church did support, then when they did not.
Okay.
When I was about 13 years old, I was at church camp, and it had been going on for years. And I was at church camp, and the Spirit of God came over me, and I just had to tell somebody, right? And so I ended up telling a church counselor that was there. They're mandated reporters, so they have to report.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Yep. So they ended up telling my youth pastor, which ended up telling the police, which they really did, was very secure with me and brought the police in and talked to me outside of my parents knowing at church, right? So I ended up making a report and all that good stuff where I figured I was safe. And then, lo and behold, a little later on, it finally came out. Obviously, they got to tell, right? So anyways, he ended up getting arrested for that situation, but things went on. But then now we moved to a new church where he has a bit more clout, where he has a bit more pull, if you will. You know what I mean? He's a leader in this church. It didn't stop. We just moved churches, right? And so now when it comes out again, they're not there for you. You know, they're going to protect their name. They're going to protect their image by all means necessary. And I did in that moment felt like the church was not for me in that moment.
I agree. And I think, and another thing that you bring up right here, and it's something that, so as a pastor, when new people come to my church, and I can't speak for every church, and I know not every church has the ability to do this, but we live in a pretty rural area up here. When people come to our church, they usually come from an old church. So, you know, we'll ask them, well, hey, where'd you attend church before this? And most people tell us where, and usually there's a reason why they're not at the old church anymore. But as a pastor, I think it's incumbent upon me to do some legwork. Call that church, call that pastor. Maybe, I mean, I don't know if that would have fixed this. Maybe they would have all just been complicit, which would really break my heart. But, you know, and I've actually had that happen where we had a person show up to the church and I called the previous church and they were like, he's not a good guy. He's pretty demeaning toward women, and there was this laundry list of stuff. And so I brought him in and we talked about it. We just decided this wasn't the place for him. And well, I decided this wasn't the place for him. He didn't really like that. That's okay. But when a victim draws suspicion, like kind of going back to kind of what you had going on, and then when you look at this documentary, right? When the victim starts to draw this suspicion, what's the best way for us as church leaders, one, to reframe that and reclaim the truth, right? Because I would say we need to be very careful if someone comes to us with an issue like that, and then all of a sudden we're all just kind of looking at the victim here. How do we reframe that? How do we reclaim that truth? How could the church have helped you do that? Where did we fail?
Well, I think by believing me.
Yeah.
Most
Hello.
children
Wow.
are not going to.
That's all we're going to get to. Yeah. Man,
wow.
Yeah, most children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was under 16, 17 when I finally told the last church, are not going to make stuff like this up.
Right.
Wow.
Right?
That's
We're
right.
not. Now, the perpetrator, they're more cunning, they're more manipulative. They have a little more. They're the one who's probably going to lie more, right? So I think that the church should have separated us, right? Because I got to go back home with the same person.
Yeah.
Right? Separated us, maybe done some one-on-one counseling, and number two, file a report. Why are we putting these people in jail? Because they pay their tithe. That's right. Because they preach on Sundays and are midday because you trust them, but they're just as wrong as two left feet. But the Christian in us don't want to report our brother and our sister because we believe that God is the redeemer of all.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we do that? You rather keep that man or that whatever woman in that place, that toxic situation with that child, rather than the right thing.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, and that actually happens a lot. I mean, we don't even have to. That's not even guesswork. You can just look at the record, and you can tell very clearly that occurs. You know, for me personally, for a pastor listening or someone out there who thinks that somehow because you're a Christian that you're not supposed to be held accountable, our God is a God of justice. Our God is a God of justice. God will forgive anyone, anything. However, that is not a pass on the consequences of your actions. So if you're a pastor out there and that's your stance, I'm just going to tell you right now, you're a heretic. There's no other way to say that. Especially a child, and I agree with you, and I have the psychological journals and everything to prove that it is highly irregular for someone under the age of 14, highly irregular for anyone, male or female, to make up a story like that, knowing that they have to go back home with that person, right? So that there's a courage element in there that I don't think we think about, because they know that even though I say this to this pastor, I still have to go home, right? And the person is hoping that the pastor is going to do something, and then the pastor does nothing. So now we've exacerbated this. We've made it worse. We made this whole situation worse. And I would, if you're willing to share, I'd love to hear what happened in your situation after it kind of became public. Because I'm sure your abuser knew, right? As soon as,
oh yeah,
right. So I would love if you're comfortable talking about it, I would like to hear that part too as well. Kind of how that went for you.
Yeah. So how it went is I ended up growing up and moving myself out of the situation, you know.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because even in going back to unbelievable, right? Recantation is real.
Mm-hmm.
You know how she recanted because there was so much pressure on her from the detectives and even her mother-in-law, her foster mothers. You know, tell her you're wrong. This didn't happen. You're not acting the right way. You're just making this all up. So her mind started playing tricks on her, right? So with me, you remember when I told you in the beginning, the first church, I wrote the letter. I recanted my statement out of fear, out of rejection, right? Because when the reality that when you tell a secret like that comes out and how it changes the dynamics of your family, of what is really going to disrupt in your world, it becomes a bit like, okay, no, okay, I take it all back.
Wow.
You know, now you go into yourself, right? And of course, the abuse continues to happen because you're still in the same situation.
Right.
But I'd rather do that than to disrupt my family, than to break up my parents' marriage, than to put my dad or whatever in jail.
Right. So actually telling your story actually made your situation worse.
Yes.
I mean, mind you, me and my mother had to come to blows on this.
Wow.
You know, it broke up a lot of things because now you get back to the parents that don't support you. You know, this is a hard subject to really talk about without repercussion.
Yes.
Right. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Wow. I listen to your story and I just get inspired about it. And, you know, we talked about forgiveness and I wrote some things down and you know, because we've been talking a lot about forgiveness with, you know, the shootings and things like that and forgiveness and the thing that I think that we miss is forgiveness. You know, it means you no longer carry that weight, you know, and things like that. But that don't mean you don't seek justice.
That's right.
That don't mean you don't seek restoration. That don't mean you don't seek, you don't lament or, you know, you don't talk about it now. And what's inspiring me from this is we talk about the church and going back and forth in the church and the family is I want to know is because I see so many people do it when they went through traumatic situation, particularly like this, and sometimes nowhere near this level of what you went through. That always be with you is that I don't hear that you ever. A lot of times we connect the church with God. I don't hear you having, I want to know from you is how did you maintain? 'Cause a lot of people when they go through this, they'll blame God. That they'll say, God, you're supposed to watch over me. You're supposed to take care of me. You allowed this to happen to me. This love and God. But I see you tell us about what the church did, but I don't see it. Maybe you overcame it, that you tied into God Almighty Himself, Christ Himself. You're not tying it together with Him that this happened to you, but it was just the evilness of men and not anything about God. And tell us how you there, because some of the people God will allow it, and I've counseled them and I said God didn't do it, but it's still hard for them to go to the process because they lived that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, I've always loved God.
Mm-hmm.
I've always just loved Him, and I've always felt that He was protecting me even in my darkest hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that testimony that I got mad at God. I'm too scared of God to get mad at Him. Right? I'm not. That ain't my. I was at one of my shows the other day, and she had gone through a whole lot of things or whatever. And I hear these women say, I got mad at God.
Yeah, that's some, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get mad at God? The Almighty?
Mm-hmm.
I will get mad at the man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I can get mad at, maybe the people.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as God, because at the end of the day, Bishop, He's been all I've had.
Yeah.
Mm. Wow.
For me, He was all that I had. Mind you, we were raised in church, so I knew who He was. I knew He was bigger than my situation.
Mm-hmm.
For me.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, I was always able to reach up to Him no matter what it is that I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So many times we disconnect from God because what a man does.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, I did not go to church. I did leave that church eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Had no desire to go to that one, and probably stayed out of churches for a little longer than I should have because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I still trusted God.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I think that's why God continues to meet me where I am and continues to accelerate me, because through it all, I still trusted in Him.
Wow.
I mean, that's actually amazing, because I'd say more times than not with people that I've counseled, both pastoral counseling and actual psychological therapy, you're the exception to the rule, that you have a very strong spirit, clearly. But I think one of the things that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think, although, how you dealt with it is amazing. That's actually maybe the second or third time I've even heard someone say they dealt with it that way when it comes to dealing with, reconciling God and what happened. But I do find that I think it's important for pastors to say, it's okay to be mad.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be, and you know what's crazy? Please read the book of Job. If you don't believe me, it's okay to be mad at God.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're mad at God, then that means, to me, that is the most basic form of worship. When you have anger towards something, no one's angry at the Easter Bunny. No one's angry at Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have no power, right? You're angry at God because you believe that He could have fixed it and He didn't. And to me, that it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a true, to even consider being angry at God or not being angry at God. Clearly, you believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes people get angry with God, and they kind of take this, we're going to agree to see other people kind of situation, and I just encourage people that who, quite frankly, don't take it spiritually as well as you did, that are in that place where they're furious with God. I mean, they've thrown things in my office, and that's okay. The office can be fixed, but just in providing a place for them to go, it's okay. And in that moment, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's not the time to get into a theological debate about how much God loves you or how much he didn't want that to happen. To me, that's not the place. When you have a victim with you, I think that's the worst possible moment that you could is to try to plug in theology or something I learned in school. I think right then it's just, Job's friend was quiet.
Yeah.
He was quiet. He shut his mouth. And, my grandmother always said a shut mouth carries no fruit. And I think if we would just be quiet and listen, and let them be angry, or let them be forgiving, or let them do whatever it is they do to process it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where our empathy comes in. We have to be able to show empathy. Like you said in the beginning of the show, you're like, I can't relate to certain things.
That's right.
Because of who I am. If you've never been a victim of molestation, of rape, of assault, you can't relate. But you can be like, I understand that was a very traumatic and awful thing, but I want to be here to hear you. I want to be here to support you. I want to be here to pray for you and to just be what you need me to be in this moment. There is an after. And I think we need to definitely give people that hope. There is an after your trauma. You have to process it, though. And I always tell people, stand in your truth. No one's telling you to gloss over the truth. And I always say, yeah, I was molested. And it sucked, and it was unfair, and it was not cool, and it was a lot of things. Even now at 43 years old, Bishop, I still remember. I still have flashbacks.
Wow.
Right? So trust me, it doesn't go away. I just had the other day, I was waking up, and I thank God for my husband, because he allows me to continue to process even now. And it was a flashback day. And I went back to a moment in time. Right? I don't know when that's going to come up. But what do I have to do? Now that I know, feel it, understand it, release it. Right? Because we have to stand in our truth.
Right.
One thing that I told my stepfather, one of the last times that I talked to him, we were at a family meeting, and I told him, I said, I looked him in his eyes, and I meant it. I said, I forgive you, but I will tell the world about what you did.
That's what I mean about, yes.
Yeah, justice.
And when I tell you, not knowing it would be on this level, not knowing, but I knew I had to stand in my truth. And I know women to this day, older than me, that still or will never tell about what has happened.
Wow. Wow.
And
you think about that shame and that guilt and those demons that they are holding on to.
Wow.
Because they cannot stand in their truth. A lady told me, she said, it will just mess up my family. My sisters, my family, it would mess up too much. She said, I admire you for talking your truth. I can't do that.
Wow.
And what this is so good, because my thing is now for pastors and church, and I hope you're listening. And I hope I love so much you said, and breaking down what you said, you know what, you woke up the other night. We need to cut this lie out about this. Just because you went to an altar and you laid your holy hands on people and they got the Holy Ghost and I'm born again, that this is going to go with the woman. She just told you it doesn't go away. And she's got the Holy Ghost. She's a child of God. She knows God. She's walking with God. But what she experienced, and your anointing and your oil, and you're rolling around on the floor and slobbing all over the place. And when she gets back up, and when they get back up, they're going to have to still deal with it. God is going to walk walk with them and quit making them feel and believe like just because they hadn't got over it or past it or through it, that they're not walking with God. Yes, they are. But what they experience is what they experience. We need to stop that. And we need to stop the secrecy with Deacon Bobo, who's been doing all this kind of stuff. We need to quit the secrecy and quit shaming people and holding these secrets because you don't want the church name to get dragged through the mud. This is not a documentary. This is a real life person telling you what she went through. And we have to stand up for the vulnerable and believe them. And your duty is not to make it go away. Your duty is not to dismiss people. Your duty is to call the law, protect the least of them among you, protect the widows and the orphans and people going through this stuff, and quit doing that and quit shaming people, because we shame them too. We shame them with this Holy Ghost mess. We shame them with, well, I prayed for you and God's going to take it away. We need to cut that lie and cut that mess out, because something that what she went through cannot go through by a simple prayer because you anointed or you got some kind of title or you hold some kind of position in the church and it's supposed to be going away, because that's that traditional lie mess that we believe in. No, it don't go away. She's telling you, I still deal with it. I still have to process it. I still got to go with it. Some people can't, and it's all right, but God is still love them and they're just as anointed as we are. And we need to cut that out.
That's right.
I think you're right. And I think that, God is so good, and we have a way of protecting ourselves. What happens with trauma, when you're traumatized with anything, your mind compartmentalizes that trauma.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And you go into survival mode. Right? And so it's like, okay, that happened, but I can't deal with that right now. Okay? And I used to be a swallower. Like, I used to swallow my feelings. I used to swallow literally lumps of anxiety, things. I used to swallow those things, right? But after years and years of swallowing, that comes up.
That's right. That's
and
right.
You got to be able to release, and we have to be in safe places, church, to allow people to release without the judgment, right? Without, like you said, the shaming, without the dismissal.
That's right.
Why are we dismissing people?
Yeah.
Why are we like, get up and get over it? You're good. God is good. Yes, he is, but there's still a process.
Thank you.
Yes.
Say it again for the people in the back and front.
Yes. Yes.
God is good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. I think what I'm getting out of this, I think the thing that keeps going around and around in my mind as I hear both of you speak is, as a church, we got to stop trying to control the narrative.
Speak.
We have this idea that if this person was abused and I can't pray that abuse out of them, I failed as a pastor, or God isn't real, or that's trying to control the narrative.
Not our role. Not your role.
Yeah, you're trying to control a narrative that you don't have that sword to swing. That's not our place. When Jesus died on the cross, he had two people by him, if you recall. And one of them said, hey, I'm really sorry for what I did. I want to be with you today. And he said, what did he say? He said, today you will dine with me in heaven. And guess what? He still died for what he did. Right? Yeah. Stop trying to control the narrative. It's not our narrative as pastors to control. That's not our place. Our place is to simply be there.
Power.
Right.
And this is what happens is that pastors, whomever, they take the place of God.
What? Yes. Say it again for the people in the front and back. And in the middle.
That'll preach.
Take the place of God.
Oh.
Do you hear that? Oh, y'all don't like this kind of show. This ain't the show for everybody.
Nope. You go ahead and turn it off. You don't like that. Just turn it off.
Please say it again.
Take the place of God.
Yes.
God is a season for everything, right? And so if it's not a season for complete transparency, and maybe I just don't trust you enough, man of God.
Oh, got him.
Oh, man.
Maybe you haven't earned the right to be trusted yet.
Maybe you don't get that access to me just yet.
That's right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Put some time into me. Put some love into me. Put some compassion into me. Put some word into me.
Well, did you pay your tithe? Because I mean, that's where we are. Because if you didn't pay your tithe, I ain't got time. You know what I mean? Oh, it's
And
frustrating.
and people are dying.
Yes. Yes.
They're giving up. Why do you think we have so much depression, oppression, suppression? Why do you think so many people killing themselves? Why do you think we have
Mhm.
so many people in mental? Well, there's so many mental cases right now, mental diagnosis right now,
Mhm.
right?
That's right.
Because, like you said, somewhere as society we've failed. Somewhere.
Well, I think you need to look no farther than the pulpit if you want to look for a
Mhm.
spot.
Mhm.
I do have a question for you, and I don't want to forget it. I'll forget it if we keep going because now you got me all fired up. Um, and you mentioned it earlier. This is for my playbook. I'm definitely gonna write down your answer. How can we, as husbands and brothers, I'm not just talking about just pastors,
Mhm.
as men who are around women who have dealt with this, and men too, because this does happen to men.
Yes.
I've counseled them. I know it happens. How can we come alongside you? How can we be supportive? If you give me some pointers.
I can tell you. Okay, so it's interesting that you asked that question. For example, so I have an amazing husband, right? And my husband has been so patient with me,
Mhm.
and he's so non-judgmental,
Patience,
and he
non-judgmental.
never, ever, ever, ever throws up anything in my face.
Mm.
Mm.
He has never once said, "Well, why didn't you?
Mm.
Why wouldn't
Oh.
you?
Blame
How
you.
did that? Well, who was you? Or why did?" Never ask questions even.
Mm.
He allows me to. There's this book called Open the Closet.
Mm.
It allows me to gently open the closet
Mm.
and express and do and be who I am, right?
Mm.
So many times we put on our judgmental hats
Yes.
Someone's gonna
with
take us off. Someone's gonna
husbands,
take them off.
Yes. Some
right?
of us they just keep them on.
They just take, yeah. And so how can I be open to you if I know you're going to judge me? If I know you're going to blame me in some kind of way, shape, or
Mm-hmm.
form,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I just think that we have to, brothers, you have to be able to hug your sister and say, "Sis, I'm sorry that happened to you. I love you. I'm here for you. I support you. You never deserve that. No one should ever treat you that way,"
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
need to
Yes.
we need to love people like Christ loves us.
Watch out.
Yes. Uh-oh.
That's what
Uh-oh.
we need to do.
We asked the question. We talked about a question like, who is my neighbor?
Yeah.
And what we don't understand, what we fail to miss is as a neighbor is humanity. We as believers, kingdom people, we have no borders.
That's right.
Humanity, no matter where it is, and a lot of times, dealing with that, we leave our humanity after when the police officer, he wants to start an investigation. The church wants to not have their church in because this don't happen in the house of God. And we sit in the house of God and preaching to people, and because they have a child who's abused, who's going through molestations, who's being raped, and we think that we're doing something. We think that we're delivered. And then if they sit down and talk to you about their situation,
Mm-hmm.
if you rub shoulder and talk about it, you can't even handle it and deal with it because it goes back to what John said. It doesn't fit your playbook and narrative. Well,
That's right.
I preached, and I'm anointed. I'm calling this supposed to well, I laid hands on you. You're supposed to be over that, and that's what we mess up. We forget about the human story. We're just like the lawyer who stood up and said, "Who's my neighbor?" And your neighbor is right there. Humanity is right there with you, and we don't care enough and love humanity enough to say, you know what, I might not have experience in this, but I got enough humanity within me to say, you know what, if I wouldn't want to go through this, let me help you through the process. We don't know who our neighbor is, and our neighbor is right there because we don't want to hear our neighbor's story. We don't want to hear the story about the man that fell on the wayside, like the Levite and the priest. We want to go on the other side and preach them from the other side. They got wounded, they down there bleeding, they down there left for dead, and we want to stand on the other side, not touch them,
That's
not be
right.
a part of them, and preach to them. And it don't work, and that's why we're not believed, and that's why you should believe why that the church of pews are empty and the quiet exodus is happening to walk right out the front door because nobody cares. Because you know what? You're saying, praise the Lord, sister, praise the Lord, brother. And then when you ask them how they are, this was the lie. Here's the rub. I'll let you talk. Here's the rub. you don't really want to know how I am, because if I sat down and tell you the story, you couldn't handle it because it doesn't fit your little narrative sermon that you want to preach and sweat and get your group on Sunday. That's all you want to do. Because if I sit down and tell you I was abused, if I sit down and tell you I'm depressed, if I sit down and tell you that I'm frustrated, that I'm ready to I'm ready to do what I want to do, you don't want to deal with it. You're going to just dismiss me. And so we wonder why the quiet exits continue, because we don't have time to worry about and be concerned about our neighbor.
And we don't want to earn the right to speak into people's lives. We just think that because we're pastors, we should be able to just speak truth into somebody's life. We should be able to just jam the truth down people's throats. That's not how it works. It's not how Jesus did it.
Mm-mm.
You got to earn the right. You got to say hi to somebody, sit with them, talk with them, have coffee with them. Learn who they are.
Yes.
I said this just the other day on my show, and it was an epiphany. I said, so, God gave us 2 main commandments, right? To love him with all of our heart, mind, our soul, right? And then what's the next thing? To love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Yeah. But we don't even know our neighbors.
Ooh.
We don't even know our neighbors.
That's right.
Like, literally, go outside. How many of your neighbors do you know?
That's right.
Is that an indictment that we don't really know ourselves? We don't really love ourselves?
Yes.
That is an indictment on the body of Christ.
That's right.
If you don't even know your neighbor to go know that your neighbor needs bread, know that your neighbor needs prayer because their son or daughter is lost, their marriage is in turmoil, they're in just depression. If we don't even know the person that shares the same cul-de-sac as us, do we even love ourselves?
That's right.
I mean, that's just what the Lord tells us to do.
Yes.
That's right.
Right? But if we don't even know just naturally our neighbors, their kids play together, we don't know them. Is that like an indictment on us?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
No. Yes.
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, we ain't even trying to know.
That's
right.
But
you know what? Something I did today, and I know this is kind of like off topic, but I have to say it, right? So, and this was an epiphany again this morning. I was on Facebook and I saw, y'all know the new communion cups that everyone uses? Okay. I said, have we gotten so superficial and so watered down that even our communion is artificial?
Ooh, okay. Wow.
I had it up for a minute. I took it down because I didn't want nobody coming after me. I said, before you start really coming at me, just think about that. We've gotten so far away from who God wants us to be. And just think about the communion cup. I can't stand those little things. What is that? Mystery? What is that? I don't know. But someone said this is how we're doing it now, though, right? Which is fine. Because now it's easy. It's convenient. Right? But have we gotten so superficial with our walk with God that even our communion is artificial?
Yeah, I think that's true in a lot of ways, and I think one of the ways it can definitely show itself is at the communion table. I mean, just consider. I mean, just think about the churches you've been in. I mean, we run communion. We do communion here twice a month. I'll tell you, you as a pastor, when you look out and you know people. I mean, when you're at small churches like we are, you know people, like you know who's who and what's what, and I'll tell you. I mean, you can just see in their faces that I guarantee if I went and sat down with them and said, do you understand that you are doing something that every believer has done for 2,000 years? This is the one thing that we're invited into to share as a community body until Christ returns. And I don't think we think about it that way. I think it's another, now this service is going to be 15 minutes longer. I'm not going to get home and watch football. I'm going to miss the game now because we're doing communion today. I mean, I've actually heard that come out of people's mouths. So I think you're right on the money there. I think sometimes we just don't love the mystery of our own faith. We just, I agree with you. I think so.
Yeah.
I know that was a little off base. Sorry, but
that's good. That's good.
No, that's good.
I think it plays right in because you doing little things like that. When you do that little stuff in church where everything starts to become superficial, and then your relationships start to become superficial.
Yeah.
So guess what happens when someone comes into my office and says, my father's doing this to me. Well, guess what? My response can become superficial because everything in here is superficial. And it may show itself in little things like communion or our community things, how we do things. Exactly. I don't think you're far off at all. I think that ties right into what we're talking about.
When
this is my question, Bishop. This is my question, just real briefly. When we're talking about what we
her camera froze.
All right, people are trying to call me. But when we talk about when was the last time a pastor had a sermon over, let's say, how to deal with abuse?
Last Sunday.
Last Sunday.
Right?
I preached a sermon on
addiction.
Yeah.
How to deal with real, we're going to talk about this Bible story.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah and the well.
Yeah.
Because it's easy.
That's right.
See, here's that. I got to answer that question. See, that sermon don't work because the prosperity gospel says that stuff don't exist.
That's right.
See, we're all past that. We have no addictions. Nobody's getting sexually abused. Nobody's getting assaulted. Nobody's getting molested in here. We're progressive. We know they have this motivational talk. You need to get some money. You should have some money in the bank. You should be driving a certain kind of car, wear a certain kind of clothes, because we progress past that stuff. And if you're part of that, we don't want you part of this body. Because we don't believe in this addiction, depressed stuff. And you're supposed to be born again, set free, delivered. We put some oil on you. And you're supposed to be gone. And you're supposed to be walking with God, speaking in tongues every 2-3 minutes. And
that's right.
You save and, carry that. See, the progressive, that's what I'm saying. What we're talking about is what we don't want to deal with, because we want to have this narrative that in the house of God, this stuff don't exist. You're past all this stuff. And that's why we have no credibility. That's why the community don't believe us. That's why we are irrelevant. That's why we're just cast aside. We look sideways and stuff like that, because they understand that it's a lie. The fruit of our spirit don't bear witness to what we're saying, because you don't want to deal with people who have been dealing with trauma, which many people have been dealing with trauma, because this progressive prosperity message has covered this stuff up, and we just present a lie. You got people just go in and wearing a mask on Sundays. So we don't have time for that addiction, depression, trauma. Everything is super. We're just so superficial. Feel good, feeling good. He can preach. Why can he preach good? Because he can make me feel. He's talented. He's gifted. What did he say? I don't know what he said, but he can. He can sway and swoon and hold his head back and tune up and all that kind of stuff. And I can feel the God. I can go in there feeling good, and I'm going home and still in a crisis.
You know what's even worse than that? What's even worse than that is the prosperity gospel. And I will jump on the prosperity gospel any chance I get. So I'm sorry, but it's happening. You know what's worse than that? What's worse than that is the fact that the prosperity gospel actually says the reason this stuff is happening to you and the reason that you keep reliving it, you don't love Jesus enough. See? If you just love Jesus enough, you wouldn't have these problems.
Drink some more Jesus juice.
Yeah. Drink some more Jesus juice. Put some more money in the offering. You drink out the plastic cup. Don't even care who's beside you, right? But that is the message of a capitalized Christian Western culture that we are looking in the face, and we have to stand and make a decision. Are we that, or are we what Christ has called us to be? And I'm sorry to tell you, if you're coming to God for things, then He's not your God. The things are.
Yes.
And if you're coming to God thinking that, it's all just going to be better, if you're preaching that, that's trash. You're preaching trash. You're spewing flies and maggots out of your mouth and just ignoring the bread of life. And that's what the prosperity gospel does.
And I think there's a time and place for everything, right? There's a time for prosperity. Yes, we have to. You need to definitely be abundant and living your best life and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you, Bishop, my heart broke in probably 5 different pieces just now, Bishop Williams, when you said that, we don't want to talk about the people that are really broken.
That's true.
They don't want to talk about their addictions and their heartaches and their broken families and their children who's run away, and then how to deal with this real life situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, what's the church for?
Exactly.
People didn't turn this off. They started watching this, and they talking about that stuff. They gone.
Yeah.
They don't want. We don't want to. John said we don't want to deal with this. No. They talking about that rape, sexual? We gone because they can't handle it because they it don't fit their narrative. We're so brainwashed and saying indoctrinated. Yes, God says we're gonna have life and have more abundantly, but my abundancy is in humanity. My abundance come in what I do for life. I buried my mom the other day, and I tell you what, that was the richest woman I ever known, and she didn't have a penny. But I ain't got nobody. What she gave people that she left on this earth, she's in the ground right now, but she's still walking this earth because what she give money. When I go to those kids in school, when I put my best in them, I tell them I'll never die, because when you hear my homecoming, you still gonna live through me. My voice is still gonna come through you. So when you talk about abundantly, how do we define abundance? I find abundance is what I do for the kingdom. And what you're doing right now, you giving life, you giving somebody hope that me and John, we can't give them the hope, but you're giving a young woman hope that may go through the process. You know what? There is hope. There is some love. And me and John as pastor, we're trying to say we have time to listen. Our sermon's not important. Our sermon will wait for Sunday. It's okay. I don't have to study and not have this program because I've been through it. It's because somebody might go through it, and let's talk about it. But it's people have cut this off right now. They don't have here you got people that call themselves Christians or get more upset because the Dallas Cowboys lost than what you went through.
That's right.
They get more upset.
Cowboys, but what I went through is very important.
Yeah. but they were if somebody was talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And what y'all ain't feeling, but the Cowboys need to do to fix their team because they lost to the 0-4 Jets. They'll be tuned in, locked in.
That's right.
Y'all ain't got nobody. I'm serious. But a woman who got a story to tell and story. You don't have no talent, but you were more almost spoken tongue, John. You worry about the dang Cowboys. You worry about who's on your football team. You worry about the trade. And I'm calling you out. You won't worry about a sports team or something. And that's what prosperity message that we it's not about you having abundant life. It's about we've got to excuse. If anytime I put the blessing above the blesser, whatever I got going to get skewed anyway because I forgot about the one who gave me the blessing.
That's right.
And that's why God. And so my thing is, when we live in a cultural society, there's more people more interested in what the Cowboys' next move going to do is what Fort Worth's going to do with this man who shot this woman and killed in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You don't want to have that conversation, but if I sit up and talk about the Cowboys I'm just saying the Cowboys, any team, you're more interested in that. So we are a sick society, but I'm a type of person, I'm happy to be maladjusted. I'm maladjusted to the society because I'm here for the kingdom of God. And we want to share your story because you know what? The silence in these, I'm hoping that these churches, your church get blown up next week, Pastor, and you get knocked off your throne. That's and right. Somebody come say, I need some help. And you come out of that pulpit and sit down with people and say, you know what? We need to love. That's my duty. That's my call.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. People should be able to come into your church any given Sunday, even any given midweek and feel the love of Jesus there. And know that this is a safe place for them to start their healing.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always start right when you think it should, right? Just have an environment where God is there, the Holy Spirit is there. You are worshiping God, and like you said, not the things and not the people and not, making sure people feel good about the situation, but make sure that God and the Holy Spirit is there. Yeah. And God will bring the increase.
And you can talk about this more than here's my experience with people who've been dealing with trauma. Because John used the word narrative, and a narrative we know as a story. We're going to talk about your book and get in your book. But narrative is a story. You tell a story, right? You create a narrative and you tell the story. But what I found when you're dealing with somebody who's been broken, dealing with trauma, like that, it's not like you sit down and we have this conversation. You're gonna just it's fits and starts. It's you're dealing with brokenness. It don't just happen you might get part of the story, then they'll stop because the trigger and so that you got to have patience to deal with people like this, because it's not like they're gonna sit down and tell you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and it's gonna be it's not linear. What I'm saying, it comes in fits and starts and brokenness. You got to go through this process with people. And my point I'm trying to say is we refuse to get trained and educated on how to deal with people with trauma, because what happened? What happened? And then, a 14-year-old not going to just tell you it's going to be, they're 14. There's still a process. They still dealing with it. It's going to be fixed up. But what happened? Why you can't tell me? And see, we're so impatient, inhumane with people. We got to understand when you're dealing with a delicate situation like this, you got to know how to handle it and approach it. And understand it's not going to be linear. The story might sound confusing. The story might sound disjointed, because in their mind it is, because I ain't got nobody. They're still trying to process what happened. It comes in brokenness. It comes in pieces. So you got to work with them and not shame them. So, okay, they might going to tell you a little bit, but that don't mean because if the story is a little different, that don't mean that they're lying. I ain't got nobody. It means that's how and you can tell, am I right? Am I on the right track? That's how it's brokenness, it's pain, it's processing. And it doesn't just come in a linear, well, just tell the story, what happened, and we just go through the process.
Right, which is what happened in the show, right? Because her reaction, right? She didn't react the way they thought that she would, or like you said, Bishop, the narrative didn't fit their mindset of what they thought it was supposed to be. So now she's not believed. Now she's not believed, right? Now she has doubt because you have doubt. Now she recants her situation. Not only that, now you put unqualified people around her that she's supposed to believe, that she's supposed to respect, that keep asking her all these questions over and over and over and over again. You wonder why someone not confused.
That's right.
Don't wonder, right? But that's the thing too. Pastors, you're not qualified in every area.
Oh, thank you. That was
yes.
Thank you. We've been saying that.
We have all these titles because I'm apostle, prelate, bishop, whoever, right? Now we believe that we know everything. And I'm sorry. That, like the guy was saying, he was saying about being a bad cop. I'm sorry, if you're not handling people properly, especially when they're in the midst of their stuff, you are no better than a bad cop. Yes. You're no better.
Yeah.
If not worse, because you're masked as someone who you should be able to trust.
Right.
But if you're unqualified, have no idea what you're doing, sometimes we cause more trauma than needed.
Sometimes I think we just don't want to, as pastors, I think we don't want to accept the fact that sometimes we need to say these 3 little words. You ready? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's okay to say, wow, I don't know. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make it better. But you know what? As a pastor, you better be networking. You better figure it. You better know someone who can.
Right.
If you're not networking as a pastor, you're wrong.
So the question, but see, here's what I do know, and that's why this neighbor, I keep on going about this neighbor question, because we really miss what Jesus was saying. See, I don't know.
Right.
I might not be qualified, but here's what Jesus said, and he said the question was, how can you inherit eternal life? I'm going somewhere. And he said, do this, remember, and you shall live. Now, what was this he said to do? He told the story, right? And then the Samaritan came in. You know what qualified the Samaritan? Was his humanity kicked in.
There it is.
See, I might not be qualified to deal with sexual assault. I ain't got nobody. But when it comes to me, my humanity should kick in. That should be inherent in me as a human being. I should need a degree on the wall to say this here, but my humanity kick in. I'm looking at this person who's going through, who's crying, who's showing and don't know the story. My humanity kick in. I need to call somebody that I don't know and get some help. That humanity should kick in, and that's what kicked in with Samaritan. That's what we miss in the story. The Samaritan who probably never been to a church service, never had a prayer meeting, never had a communion, never heard a sermon. His humanity kicked in, and Jesus told us he was the one that was justified. That's because right. The neighbor is humanity. And the problem is, Pastor, that you sit up here preaching to people and you don't even know the people. And the big worst problem is you don't want to know the people because you don't want to be held accountable. It all ties back into accountability. If I hear Shy's story, now I'm accountable to helping. And all I want to do is preach.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and then
what's the point of you? What is the point of you then?
That's right.
I can hear preaching on TV.
Yeah.
That's why the pews are empty.
You, Pastor?
Yeah. That's why nobody's
really
in church.
If you really don't care about me as sheep, shepherd, if you really not going to go after me, after the lost one, what's the point of you?
Yeah, exactly. What is it you say you do here?
And the first thing to know, to go after the lost one, you got to have the knowledge that they're lost.
That's right.
If you don't want to know that they're lost, then you can't even begin to do anything because you don't even want to acknowledge that they're lost.
You mean I got to leave I got to leave my office? I got to walk out there and leave the pastor and I don't know. They didn't pay tithe. I don't know if I can do that. Oh, okay. All right.
My phone is going to die. I'm so upset about it. My phone's going to die, guys.
Okay.
Real quick, tell us about the book before we lose you.
Yes.
So, real quick, the book, so let me tell you, the book, I am so blessed. The book is actually co-written by Miss Sister Gail Murphy. She's actually a member of our church, and I've been going to Faith International Church for over 8 years. And when I came to Faith International Church, I was a single mom, broke, busted, and disgusted. I was a crazy person, okay? I had not dealt with much of anything. But when I started getting plugged in to a great ministry that loved me through my mess, that supported me through it all, and once I started to actually do what God had told me to do and been obedient to his word, that's when acceleration began to take off in my life. Oh, wow. And my book is called Scraping the Rails, and that is actually a literal term. I literally was scraping the rails of the apartments that I used to live in as a single mom so I wouldn't get evicted from my home. So the property manager asked me if I would scrape the rails with sandpaper just so I could stay in my home, and I did. And as I scraped those rails, gentlemen, I just remember I would pray to God, and I just knew there was something that he was going to get glory out of this. I didn't really know the bigger picture. A couple of months later, I ended up getting offered a leasing agent job out of that. Never had the experience ever. 6 months after that, I was promoted to assistant manager. Wow. The guy who actually asked me to scrape the rails, I took his job. A year later, I actually was property manager of that same apartment complex, or same in that company, and actually became property manager of the year, property of the year. Acceleration because of my obedience. Wow. So with that being said, scraping of the rails is just a testament of how when you are obedient to God's word and his principles, and you do what he tells you to do, and you forgive and forgive quickly, he will accelerate you like never before. We waste so much time holding on to our past hurts. We waste so much time holding on to our past failures. And God is always speaking to us, but we have to be able to listen and move when he says move and be obedient. But many a time, we'd rather be loyal to man and not obedient to God.
Wow. That's powerful. Well, we really appreciate your time, and this has been so enlightening and so educational and so heartbreaking, but heart uplifting too, because you are overcome. You are a walking epistle. You are what we see the scriptures come to life. That you don't have to be. You don't have to live out what the enemy tried to do to destroy you. You're a Joseph. You came through, and God's gonna make you a ruler and a prime minister over a lot. So I thank God to know you, and I look at you as a person that I admire, because I don't know if I could have survived what you went through. And it's no shame for me in saying that, because that's honoring you. And then I'm not going to ever tell you that I understand what you went through, because I don't, but I do understand this, that you are an anointed child of God, and you are, your story is going to touch and change so many lives, and Bishop's Brothers are so glad to be a part of that. And we'll have you on again and talk about other things, but we thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was really great. I'm about to go share it like everywhere.
Thank you.
That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you.
People should hear you. So thank you to also men of God. And I just pray that God continues to accelerate you. He continues to open up doors that no man can shut. That through your obedience, the acceleration is going to take place. And that you have the heart to hear the people that are broken and that are looking for you to help them heal. But again, it is a process. So just love them through it. Be patient, but just love them through it.
Amen.
God bless you so much.
God bless. God bless.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So I'm going to go. This is where I leave.
Okay.
All
right. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh, man.
That's
too
good.
much. There's too much. I got 2 pages full of notes over here, man. I got a lot of work to do. Man. So, you know what? So the one of the big things I got out of it, be patient, be non-judgmental, never blame, never question.
Yes.
Right. And I think the important part is when someone comes to you with this type of information, you may want to, in your mind, well, I want to hear all sides to the story. And you know what? We got courts for that.
Right.
We have a system for that.
Right.
You, in the moment, you're not judge, jury, or executioner. You are a protector.
Yes.
And so, and stop trying to own the narrative. There is an after. I thought that was very powerful what she said. There is an after. And it does not go away. You cannot pray this out of people.
Yes.
This is part of their story. This is part of who they are. It's part of the fabric of who they are. So, if we could just do those things, and I think, and I'm definitely buying the book. We'll definitely put it up on the website so everybody can see it. But yeah, what a powerful story. What a powerful story.
And in the way she tells it, and the grace she tells it with, I don't feel any type of horror, any type of anger or bitterness, and that is the power of Christ right there. Because
That's right.
I know she can't do that in herself, and
that's right.
That's the power of God, and that inspires us. And I think about that, and it convicts me, and I'm holding grudges of the little things I've been through, and here this woman have dealt with 16 years of the worst form of abuse that you can ever imagine.
That's
and
right.
She's glorious, and it's not a front. You can tell it's not just happiness; it's joy. It's joy because she said God was always there, and she never got mad at God, angry with God, and that's a testament to God, the power of God in people's lives. That you don't have to be you might not control your circumstances, but your circumstances don't have to control you.
That's right. That's right.
That's good. So
powerful.
Man, that was good.
Next time we do this, it ain't going to be 2 screens.
No, next time we want to announce that we'll be getting together on Thursday in Houston this is our Holy Week of convocation. We're going to be meeting the entire conclave for the first time, getting together in our inaugural Holy Convocation in Houston, Texas. I'm calling Jerusalem, man, in Houston and Jerusalem.
I love it.
Jerusalem, so we're going to be meeting there, and our chosen bishop, presiding Bishop Irisborough Bay, will be calling us together to meet and set the foundation for this great organization that's going to touch the world in a global way, in a global fashion. And we thank God for us. We were praying for all the graces to have traveling grace, and we get there together and come together, because we got some work to do. We got some praising to do. We got some things that we're going to do to show the world that we're going to turn this world upside down with the kingdom of God, man. And I just thank God for being part of this inaugural original convocation. There's nothing like an original. There's nothing. There's gonna be more convocation, but there'll never be another first one. So we thank God for that. And
that's right.
We I'm sending messages on my personal page, and they saying this was awesome, it was powerful. So much what we done. This was I think this was one that I'm definitely going to be rebroadcasting several times, because people need to hear what she had to say. It wasn't 2 men talking. You heard from her, and
that's right.
We want to match the church, but we come together. We'll see you. I'll be picking up from the airport Thursday, and we'll be live again. Bishop's
right.
Brothers from the North Sheraton Hotel and my Bush Air in that coming airport will be going live. We got some gifts and special things for people. So
that's
you
right.
want to miss us. We won't be going through Zoom. That's will be straight Facebook Live.
That's right.
Next week. So
and real quick, shout out to Shay Balachi. I got my I love you. ShaySlaysCancer.com. Check it out.
right.
Powerful story. 26-year-old, 27, 28-year-old going through just, the battle of cancer. And if you, it's a good resource. If you have a person who has just found out or is struggling with it or is about to go through chemo, she has a blog that she has kept up to date through her whole process from finding out through the rounds of chemo. So check it out. It's awesome.
She had a website, you said?
She does, yeah.
We'll post it on Bishop's Brothers, and so people can have access to it, and we'll put Shai's information on there too. So because some young women or women might want to talk to her, and definitely reach out to us. We will listen. We will not dismiss you. We'll lead you to the help you need. Very serious topics and things like that. So we're not doing this just for show. We're doing this trying to make a difference because somebody needs to hear that there is hope, and there's some people who care.
That's right. And just so if you're out there and you're an abuser, I just want to let you know I'm a snitch. I'm telling.
Yeah.
I'm telling everybody.
No secrets here.
Nope.
No, because you know what? I got to answer to God, and beyond that, I'm not going to do it.
I already got enough. I don't need more.
And if you're an abuser, we're praying that you be smoked out, called out, and exposed because you're destroying lives. Amen. And the church, we have to cut the secrecy out, cut the it's because it's not about you. We got to make sure we uphold the church that Jesus said, upon this rock I will build my church. And we know what Jesus did when adultery was brought to him. He said he's without sin, let him cast his first stone. Go and sin no more. We know what he didn't there was no secrecy. So we thank God for that. But we got a big week coming up. We're gonna be going live several times, not only at Bishop Brothers Live, but several times during the convocation. We're gonna pop in and just be prepared to that. We pray for us that we come together with God's glory, and it's gonna be awesome.
Amen.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
All right.
We'll see y'all next week. And again, we thank Shy Clebourn for joining us, and we're praying for her and her family and her continued success.